Right, well I'm a DIYer and I've just completed the cam belt change and water pump and water transfer pipe seals on this engine, the V6 24 valve 3.2 Busso. Yeah, it's difficult. I'm going to give you this video from a layman's perspective. You know, there's very useful bits of information out there. Car's being lowered and the usual stuff. Decent exhaust system on it, stainless steel exhaust system. Sounds really nice, but is a pig to keep maintained. So in here, give you a list of some of the tools that I used. So you need these, obviously, torque wrenches. You need a decent set of Allen keys. These are really useful, particularly in conjunction with this. Because believe you me, you're going to need to get into gaps which are not much wider than that. By the time you take the Allen bolt out, which is about that length, you get these things binding on the inner wings. So you need something about this big. So collection of those and that little tool, this thing here, enabled me to do some of the stuff that otherwise I just couldn't have got to. They need to go down to 5mm though. My set only goes down to 6, which is a little pain. So one of those, that's useful because there's umpteen bolts to take off, particularly when you're talking about the coil packs. There must be 30 odd bolts. Lots of these extensions, because when you're turning over the engine to get top dead centre with this 41mm crankshaft bolt, you need to be able to clear the car body. So you need some of those, and you need a dirty great big bar on the end of one of these ratchets so that you can get a precise top dead centre setting on a top dead centre clock like that. Alright, so you need some cam locks, which I got from Alfa, and I've got some extension bolts as well, so they're a bit long, that's marginally longer, so you don't damage any of the threads in the head. I got those from Totally Alfa. What else? Yeah, you need some locking tools. That's from Totally Alfa. That's from Totally Alfa. And you also need a decent impact tool. That goes up to 450 newton meters. This thing just didn't touch it. The Makita didn't touch this bolt. It just couldn't come. The bolt wouldn't come off. I used bloody great big bars on it, which is probably a mistake because that managed to bend this tool. So I should have got the right tool in the first place, which is that. Here's a list of things that I did in some sort of order. I removed the crankshaft bolt, 41mm. Removed the coil packs. Removed the camshaft covers off. Engine to top dead centre. Place camshaft locking nut on tools on. If the engine is out of time, which mine was, then I took the wheels off, the cam wheels off. You've got to be really careful when you take those wheels off, because apparently they're very brittle, and if you bash them too hard with a hammer they shatter. I think it's 60 to 80 quid for a new wheel, so it's not the end of the world, but try and avoid it if you can. Then I locked the cams and made sure and put the extension bolts through the cam locks, which I've showed you here. All right, those extension bolts. And then because, yeah, okay. I cut the timing belt. I removed the auxiliary belt. I removed the tensioners. Removed the water pump. I removed the cam cowlings because I wanted to paint those. I removed and replaced the water transfer O-rings. You know, you can't do this, I don't believe. I don't think you can, without taking all this stuff off. I might be wrong. I'm not a mechanic. I'm a DIYer, so I could have got that wrong. But anyway, I did it at this point, and that was a real sod. And I got a video on how I got around that problem. I painted the cam covers and refitted them, the cam cowlings and refitted them. I fitted the water pump. I fitted the tensioners. I fitted the cam wheels. Fitted the cam belt. Made sure the engine was in time. You obviously get it to top dead centre. These have got to fit perfectly, all right, on the cams. Turned the car over several times, several revolutions, and retested. Tried to get the cam belt seated sort of 4 to 5 mil in on every wheel, so it was all balanced and not likely to go out of time again. Kept turning it over, kept checking top dead centre, and each time I put these on, I have to say I must have been lucky. The engine stayed in time, perfect time. And actually, in fact, it was better than when I took it apart. So pleased with that. Right, okay, and then I fit the cam cowlings on. That is a real bastard of a job. It just takes you forever. Be prepared to spend an hour and a half, perhaps 2 hours on trying to get some of these sodding things in. You need somebody to help you really on occasion, because I found that, you know, if I had somebody with a bar at the top of the car whilst I was at the bottom of the car, and just, you know, I just get this on a bolt and I couldn't turn it, I just couldn't get a purchase on the wrench properly. But if somebody could push that in and put some pressure on this, a small amount of pressure, just to keep it on, keep it into some of the cowling bolts, then you could turn this and away you go. That's all those sorts of things that are a real drag. Fitted the cam covers, and then that's a 22 odd jobs. I might have left something out, I might have done it in a slightly different order, but that's about it. Obviously locked the camshaft bolt up to I think it was 160 newton meters, but check that it's a bit difficult trying to get the torque settings for everything, because, you know, depending on what list you look at, you get a slightly different torque setting requirement. So I think it was 160, can't be absolutely sure now, I think it was. So a big bar that locks it. I mean, it didn't fit particularly well, we had to make some adjustments to it, but it got it done really. I think I probably could have ground this off so that it's, I don't know, it's slightly sort of tapered here, slightly tapered, and it had a tendency to cam off the nut. So I think if I'd ground that straight, got that really flat, then it may have sat better, and it would have been easier to get that done. You needed two people, one to hold the bolt on, one to hold that into the bolt with a bar, and the other turning it till we got to the right torque settings. So that's about it. The rest of the videos give a more in-depth and more detailed way in which I solved things. But as I say, I'm a DIY, this isn't for a mechanic obviously. They're probably going to laugh at some of the stuff I've done, but you know, I got it done. I was quoted 900 quid to have it done in a garage, and what with lockdown and everything and not earning any bloody money, I decided to do it myself. It could have turned nasty for me. Fortunately, all of the bolts in the water pump looked like they'd been greased prior. I think the last time it was done was 2013, so it was overdue. All of the bolts had been greased, so they came out really well. Anyway, good luck, see ya.